That image will never grow old. Alright, enough of that. Time to talk about our next game here on QuikViews. Oh, and here comes our star now. Say hi to the audience, little guy. Well, that's a way to leave an impression. Ladies and gents, welcome to Crash Bandicoot. And to those who know it already, welcome back to Crash Bandicoot, a 3D platformer made for the original PlayStation in 1996. This video game was somewhat revolutionary for its time, as it was one of the very first ever 3D platformers played from a third-person perspective, which is pretty much standard in gaming these days. Hell, Crash Bandicoot is an interesting case, because it was only released a mere month before Super Mario 64 of all games. At least in America, anyway. The first game in this once behemoth of a franchise was developed by Naughty Dog, who would later go on to make familiar favorites like Jak and Daxter and Uncharted, at one point being codenamed Sonic's Ass Game. Crash Bandicoot was made with the intention of giving Sony an edge in the video game market, which at the time was still ruled over mostly by Nintendo and Sega. Many ideas, sketches, and ridiculous technical know-how later, the game was presented at the very first E3 convention and was eventually released to the public in August of 1996 to mostly positive reception. So that pretty much covers the game in terms of actual development. So how about its story? Well, I think this should sum it up. Dr. Cortex, our machines are not up to snuff.
Screw you, I am your god. Now subject him to my super awesome sorceress mind controlinator ray.
I hope this furry freak screws you in the future.
What'd you say?
Oh, nothing. Oh, don't mind me, I'm just a token. Yeah, to put it bluntly, the plot itself is about as predictable as the typical Mario game. Save the damsel in distress from the evil mastermind, and hope to God you get some poontang in the end. So while the plot itself is nothing special, the actual world of Crash Bandicoot itself for the most part makes up for it. As the ever-lovable Crash, your goal is to traverse through 3 different islands, each of which are owned by the game's main antagonist, Dr. Neo Cortex. The first island is mainly the homeland of the natives. The second island mainly consists of old ruins and temples. And finally, you got the third island, which is Cortex's main turf, filled to the brim with nuclear plants and dark, dank laboratories. Along the way, you meet a bunch of quirky characters, such as a fat and lazy tribe leader, a blue kangaroo in a straitjacket, a muscle-bound koala who likes to show off, a trigger-happy Potoroo who thinks he's a gangsta, this poor loser who's responsible for all of Cortex's success, but is too much of a pussy to take the credit, and finally the big bad doctor himself, Cortex. Needless to say,
they all want you dead.
But don't worry, once you figure their patterns out, they actually don't pose much of a challenge. Though if they do in fact give you a little trouble, the game was at least kind enough to have the great Witch Doctor assist you in these battles. Speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about this guy. Anyone who's a fan of the series should already know who this guy is, but to those who don't, this is the almighty Witch Doctor, Aku Aku. Long ago, he lived as a protector of the islands, but now his spirit resides in a mask. With Cortex and his goons having moved into the territory and mutating the native animals, Aku Aku isn't happy about this at all and has decided to help Crash thwart Cortex once and for all. How does he do this? Well, if you manage to find a crate with a symbol of his mask, the Witch Doctor will come out and protect Crash from a single hit. If you can find another crate of this kind, Aku Aku will change color and protect you from 2 hits rather than 1. When finding a third crate, Aku Aku will grant Crash temporary invincibility, which is always nice. In terms of how Crash himself performs, his options are pretty limited. He only has 2 major abilities in the game, jumping and spinning. Later games in the series would give Crash a more varied set of moves, but for now we just have the bare basics, which quite frankly isn't all that bad. The spinning attack in general is a very powerful ability, making your entire body lethal to almost anything. Man, if only Alex Kidd had an attack that useful. Granted, it doesn't always work, but it certainly makes crushing baddies a whole lot easier. However, despite the usefulness of the spinning attack and the actual acrobatics of the character that, to some extent, still hold up, there are a few things about Crash Bandicoot that are worth noting. For one thing, this game was made before the PlayStation had its much-loved DualShock support, so unfortunately you're only stuck with the D-pad. For a game like this, it does come off as an inconvenience, though if you're willing to adapt, it's not too hard to get used to. It's just going to be a bit of a sore on your thumb if anything else. Sadly, the problems don't stop there. In general, even compared to its sequels, Crash Bandicoot is a hard game. How hard exactly? Well... yeah, that hard. This is one of those games that come off as genuinely difficult. It's not to the point of Ninja Gaiden or Ghouls and Ghosts. Oh god, no. But I will guarantee that even veterans of the 3D platformer won't complete this game scot-free. Some of the biggest offenders here are mostly comprised of the outdoor temple levels and the dreaded bridge levels. You stand little chance against these stages without exploiting the ability to run on the ropes holding the bridge. Even then, you're still going to lose a few lives on these levels alone. Fortunately, scattered throughout the game are sprites of Crash's head which act as extra lives. I'm guessing the developers themselves found this game to be as ridiculously hard as we do, so they made sure to litter some of the levels with crates that contain them. Along with that, you also got Wumpa Fruit, the series' equivalent to Mario's coins. Collecting 100 of them will net you an extra life, which is always nice in a game like this. You'll mostly find them lying around, buried inside crates, or being held by enemies. You can even net a few free Wumpas if you can time defeating these bats just right, like I did.
Hey kids, tired of the same old pizza and fries you consume every day? Are you looking to sink your fangs into juicy treats that only take seconds to make? Then here's your chance to try Insta-Fruit! It's the new fad that's sweeping the nation, and now it's your turn to try it too. Here's how! Step 1. Gather 2 bats. Step 2. Have them procreate every 5 seconds. Step 3. Wipe the 2 parent bats off the face of the earth as their babies fly into sight. And voila! Instant Wumpa Fruit! Caution, may or may not contain hints of rabies and or may cause other bats to curse your name and hunt you down till the end of time. Ask for your parents' permission before going on a bat hunting spree. So don't delay! Try Insta-Fruit today!
But in all seriousness, that's a pretty risky maneuver as your spin attack isn't enough to slay a whole pack of them at once, so use that maneuver with caution. But if you're especially masochistic, then try collecting every single gem in the entire game. I'm serious, getting all of those precious gems is almost like trying to hike up Mount Everest in your birthday suit. But before I go on, let me explain what gems are. Gems are the major collectible in this game, and you can only get them by breaking every single crate in the level. Sounds easy, right? Well, yeah, it does. In the sequels, anyway. In the original, it's a whole nother story. To get the gems in this game, you have to destroy every single crate and reach the goal in one measly life. This is the solid reason why I can't, for the life of me, collect every single gem in the game. The levels themselves provide enough of a challenge by themselves, but to have to break every goddamn crate in the level and in one life I'm more than likely to lose, that's pretty overkill if you want my honest-to-God opinion. What's even crazier is that certain gem challenges can't be beaten because of these little gemish icons that disappear if you get too close to it. These are color gem paths, and gosh darn it all, you need a gem of that color in order to use it. Jeez. So, if you do end up breaking all the crates having already lost a life, Crash will just wipe some sweat off his head and exit the level with a typical loading screen showing, signifying you failed the gem challenge in that level. If you do end up reaching the goal, however, without losing a life on the other hand, Crash will be all happy as you'll be transported to this boxed up room, where you'll either be scolded for not having been able to break all the crates, or be awarded a gem for doing so. I'll admit, Crash's gesture when awarded a gem is somewhat worth it, so goofy yet so satisfying. Afterwards, you'll be given a chance to save your game. Oh, that reminds me of another infamous quirk that plagues the game, the saving system. For less than seasoned gamers, this system may as well be called horse crap. The games in general will not allow you to save your progress manually like most games would and should. Oh no. You gotta work for a save in this game, bud. And there's only 3 possible methods for saving in this game. Obviously, one of them is collecting a gem in a level, and I think we all know at this point what I think about collecting gems in this game. Luckily, the more common method of saving come in the form of these, the Tana icons. Tana, if you remember, is the damsel you have to save in the game, and she has a few icons that you have to collect in predetermined stages. Collecting all the icons will immediately send Crash to a bonus level where he has to move in 2D fashion, breaking random crates and reaching the other side to see Tana pose for him and provide you a save. Oh, bless you and your beautiful boobies. So all sounds good, right? Just find the icons and complete the bonus room for a save, right? Well, yeah, but there is a catch to it all. These Tana bonuses only come once. When you've used it up, it will never be usable again. You'll have to advance onward to another level and find another fresh Tana bonus if you want to save again. By the time you've used up the last save in the lab, you've used up all of Tana's bonus rooms and will only be able to save by means of gems from that point onward. Well, gosh, that sucks. Is there any other means to save? Well, yes, but this last means of saving is easily the rarest. Found only in 2 levels, you'll find Cortex icons, which obviously lead to a Cortex bonus. Once you beat his bonus room, he'll drop a key and fly off. That key is the only other mean to save besides the gems and Tana, so by all means make it count. If you find a key, you'll also unlock a hidden level, but they're only optional and are just there as a means to earn that additional gem. Oh, and I should also bring attention that aside from Tana and Cortex bonuses, there are also Embryo bonuses. You know, the schmuck. When you collect all 3 icons of him, then you're transported to his bonus levels. However, they don't provide anything special aside from bumping up your percentage score, so I wouldn't even bother with him unless you're into that sort of thing. So yeah, I think I've ragged on about this game long enough. Now it's time to answer the almighty question of the ages. How does it hold up? Well, honestly, even with all the things I ragged on about, it's actually my preferred game of the entire trilogy.
Moral!
I know, blasphemy and all that bullshit, but that's just what I think. While the D-pad only controls are a bit of a bummer and the game as a whole is pretty hard, I still thoroughly enjoy it. There's just a certain essence to it that the later 2 games don't quite emulate. Granted, they are overall better games, but for my money, I still enjoy the first game the most. For newcomers, though, you may want to play Crash 1 last. It's easily one of the least accessible games in the franchise because of all of its quirks, so only go into it once you've got used to the other 2 games. Oh, and just to get this out of the way, yes, I will be doing quick views of the next 2 games as well, and possibly CTR as well if I ever get around to beating it. But for now, I'm just glad I got the first game out of the way. So my final score for the game is an 8 out of 10. It'll take some getting used to, but once you got an idea of how to play, it can be a blast! Literally. This has been Quick Views, and I'm Captain Reginald /JamesManExtreme, and I hope to see you all in the next Quick Views. Take care.